That's kind of talk back with another match preview. We're playing Yeovil on Saturday, a 3 p.m. kickoff. It's crunch time, I think. Now we need to put the Boreham Wood result behind us, get the result against Yeovil, and really start pushing on now, because there's teams like Torquay, they're running away. Stockport are a point behind us, and I think we've got 3 games on them, so they're going to probably be above us with the rate that they're going at. So it's time now to really start picking up the points. I will hand over now to Tom for stats and players to watch.
Notts and Yeovil couldn't really be further apart in the stats. Notts currently sit on 20 points in third place, didn't actually drop a place despite losing to Boreham Wood in the week. And Yeovil 21st on 8 points. Massive 18 place gap, but only 12 points separate the teams. So obviously the league hasn't really opened up as it did in recent years just yet. Well, apart from Torquay pulling away from Notts by 11 points. But looking into the stats then, Yeovil won 2-1 away at Bromley to secure their first win of the season. It took them 11 games to get that win, but they have got it. Now, I'm very thankful they actually did win. Some people might think they'll gain momentum, but I'm just very superstitious with stuff like this. I feel like if Yeovil hadn't have won, they were bound to beat Notts to get their first win. I mean, it's bad enough going 11 games. Surely you can't go 12 without a win when you're a side that Yeovil really are they've got one of the top 7 squads, top 10 definitely in the league. So I'm very happy they got that win. In their games this season, bar Eastleigh, I think it was, where they lost 3-1, they've only lost by a couple of goals here and there. One to Chesterfield, one to Sutton. They're not out of games. They've not been brilliant. They've not picked up the goals where they needed them. They've not held the opposition out at the key moments in the game. So they've never really been way out of games, which is something that doesn't really it's put them in the position they're in, but overall they've just needed that little extra, and they could easily have got a couple more wins or draws on the board. So not an easy game by any stretch. Notts 1 loss in 6. Tricky because you've got some fans saying we're playing terribly, some fans saying we're saying brilliant. I'm in the middle. We're showing up fantastic some games, fantastic. Wealdstone blew them off the park, and Wealdstone haven't been playing bad this season. Other games, Boreham Wood, lacklustre. Dagenham, lacklustre. I think 1 loss in 6 looks brilliant, and if you take it back to our last 5, we've picked up 10 points from 15, but it's still not enough because of some of the results we've got. Right back to Dover, it's just not enough. Yeovil have lost their last 4 home games though, which could come into our hands. Maybe they're missing their fans, I'm not too sure. But scored 3, conceded 9 in those. Really not good, scoring 1, conceding 3 on average, which I hope plays into Notts' hands, but I just feel like we just need those little edges on teams. Now, doing a bit of research earlier, the average points to actually gain promotion, not what the teams have finished on, what they would have needed to gain promotion over the last 10 seasons. Obviously exclude your Barrow last season because it was obviously cut short. If you were to average out the 9 seasons before that, the average points needed for promotion was 90. 90 just, not to win the league, 90 just to finish above second place. Some of those teams went on to get over 100. I think Wrexham got 105 one season. Now, we've got Maxfield, so that's 2 games less. But as some of the point tallies were in the hundreds, you can't rule out that even with less games against Maxfield, that 90 wouldn't be where it would need to be. Now that means Notts need to pick up 70 more points. And if I'm not wrong, off the top of my head here, they've played over a quarter of the season already with 20 points. Now, we need to get 70, so we need to step up now, because our points tally at the minute is not good enough to win this division where we want to be. We don't want to be taking that playoff chance again. Now, going on to players to watch. 3 players very interesting this week. The first is actually Joe Quigley. Now, he's a bit of a journeyman. Despite not being that old, he's been around a fair few clubs and never really been a solid goal scorer, but he scored 3 in his last 4. Now, his tally for this season is almost level with what he's got before. A man in form. What can I say? Obviously a player to watch out for. 3 in his last 4. And his strike partner, Rhys Murphy. Now, a man that I made I said I wanted him to sign on the channel months and months and months ago. Even before last season started, Rhys Murphy. He'd come from scoring 25 goals in the league below, and he got 17 last season with Yeovil. Now, obviously, he's made the step up. He's a goal scorer. Season was cut short. Could have easily hit 20 on a really good run, 25 goals. Not hit this season, 2 and 11, although he did score in the win, much like Joe Quigley did against Bromley. So another player that could just be hitting that stride and a danger man. We've seen with a few players, even if they're not playing that well. Tishamanga from Bournemouth was very, very good, wasn't he? Despite not playing that well this season. So it just draws players' attention. And the final player, couldn't leave him out after the heated scuffle with Dion Kelly-Evans last season away. It's Carl Dickinson, former Notts player. Now, be interesting to see if he had a little battle with Kelly-Evans again. But yeah, they're both very fiery players, so they are the 3 players that is vital to watch out for.
Right then, injury updates for Notts. There is a few changes, so the only real players that are in complete doubt of being out are obviously Lacey and Cal Roberts. I think that they're both on the fringe, they're close to coming back. I think Cal Roberts, you're looking at a couple of weeks now, his rehabilitation, and Lacey, I think a little bit less than that, so be glad to see them both back, especially Roberts, because I think we need the goals and assists from him. So yeah, not masses in the way of team news. So that takes me on to our selection. Now, me and Tom was discussing this. Obviously, I think we set up a 4-3-3 against Bournemouth. We obviously changed it a little bit to maybe outplay them, or because we had tired players, we had to change our shape. Obviously, O'Brien came in. So we're going to stick for the 4-2-3-1 because obviously it was working. Slocum in goal. Don't really need to expand on it. He's our number 1 keeper. Right back, going Brindley. 2 centre backs, Turner and Rawlinson. Now, Turner looked a little bit clumsy, I thought, against Bournemouth. But in saying that, when you look at how many goals we've conceded in the last 4 games, I think it's 1. So you can't really complain at that. As clumsy as he did look, we did only concede 1 goal. You can put the goal down to being his fault, I know, but you can't really go down that track and keep blaming players. Left back, Dion Kelly-Evans, you always get that result from him. He's a really physically strong player, and he's always up for a battle. Sitting in front of the back 4, Reeves and Doyle. They're playing every minute at the moment. I think they played every minute of the season, so I can't see why it changed now, unless they're tired, but they just never look like they're going to tire, do they, those two? So more attacking midfielders. I've gone for Walker, hoping to see a little bit more from him because he didn't really impress too much against Bournemouth, I don't think. So hopefully he can, start and make that difference. Alongside him, we're going for Ruben Rodriguez, sort of in the middle. And then the other side of the 3, Enzio. That sitting behind Kyle Wotton, who is going to be our striker, we should be creating plenty. We've got Reeves, who is very creative as well. He makes it work behind the attacking 3. So, I really hope we can get the result because Yeovil have had a terrible start to the season, albeit they did get the win last week. It's time now. We just need to start building, like I was saying at the start, building the wins, getting the points on the board now. But yeah, that takes me on to my prediction. I don't think it's going to be an easy game because Yeovil are a bit of a grudge team for us, aren't they? So in saying that, I think it's going to be 2-1 to Notts, but I think it's going to be a very tight game. It's not going to be easy, and they're going to really go for it, I think. So yeah, I'll hand over to Tom for his prediction.
How do I see this one panning out? I think I'm really happy Yeovil got the win against Bromley because I wouldn't have liked to have gone into it knowing that they still needed their win. I'm a bit... I don't like playing teams that are desperate for a win. I think it's really good that they got that. Saying that, I still think it's going to be a really tough game. It always is against Yeovil. I think they'll be up for it. They've got quality in Reece Murphy. They've got men in form like Joe Quigley. So I'm going to have to go for a 2-2. As much as I'd like to be wrong, I just think there is a lot of pressure on Notts despite 1 loss in 6. There's pressure. If Notts aren't out clear at the top, there's always going to be pressure on them. So I'm going to go for 2-2, and I think it's a game. It's not a game for Rodriguez for me. I was debating whether to include him in the goal scorers. I just don't see it as a Rodriguez type game. I hope I'm proved wrong. I hope he goes out and scores a hat trick and makes me look stupid. But I think it's a game for Tom Walker, and I think it's a game for Eli Sam. Again, I think Woodson needs a rest. We saw that. He's just ineffectual, missing chances. Fantastic player, but definitely needs a rest. I think we'll see the best out of players like Reeves and Doyle in this one. I don't think we'll play badly at all. I just think to go away to Yeovil and get a victory, even the way they've been playing this season, after their win against Bromley, I just think it's going to be too tough to get the victory. Hope I'm wrong, but it'd be great to know what you think. Leave a score prediction and lineup prediction in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.